welcome to the Blitz, the defense analysis podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Josh Shepardson at BChad50. Of course, you wrote up this great piece here talking about defenses, and a lot of weeks recently we've had the Denver defense and you plugged them in, or we had the Green Bay defense in a good matchup and you plugged them in. Unfortunately, we've got some key defenses on buys this week, and so you got to be cautious with who you're picking this week. There's not a lot of teams in great spots, honestly, but as you're pointing out here, we'll start with the top one, the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, it's not a tremendous matchup against the Eagles, but Sam Bradford has shown that he's turnover prone through 3 picks on Monday night. And, I mean, Carolina with arguably the top cover corner in the league this year, and Josh Norman, Luke Kuechly back. I mean, this is an elite defensive unit that you can utilize and feel comfortable about, even with a less than perfect matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that their floor is so high makes me feel it's a weird week. As you noted, we don't have any Packers, we don't have any Broncos, so I feel like the ceilings are a little bit reduced for all of the defenses this week, even the elite plays. So in this case, this is a case where I feel like the really high floor of the Panthers stood out to me. The Eagles run a lot of plays. They do have some occasional explosive plays, but they turn the ball over a lot this year, and the Panthers have done everything you look for. They prevented scoring. They don't allow a lot of yards per play. They get after the quarterback. They force turnovers. They've got talent at every level of defense, whether it's the defensive line, linebackers, or the secondary. They've got talent at every spot. And as you noted, Luke Kuechly was back, and he was out for 3 weeks, and this defense has still put up great numbers without him. He came back. I mean, that's a huge cog. Teams don't get talent like that just dropped into their lap in the middle of the season. So that's a really big addition to a club that really was cooking without him, basically.
Yeah, I'm on board with you there. I think they're the safest option. Next up, a team that maybe not the safest option, but has massive upside as they do each week. The Arizona Cardinals coming off, they're alternating here. Disappointing weeks against bad offenses, and then, or I guess it's subjective, I guess, because Pittsburgh's not a bad offense this past week. They're just an injured offense, I guess you could say. But Landry Jones, I mean, they weren't playing bad until Landry Jones came in, threw those 2 touchdown passes, one of which he gets credit for really should have been Martavis Bryant. Like, that kind of play, you don't get a touchdown pass. It's just a touchdown catch. No points for the quarterback.
Yes.
He threw it 10 yards. He did all the work. Either way, the Cardinals are an opportunistic defense, and as we've seen, can put up massive point totals. And the Ravens are likely to be behind big time in this one. 7.5 point spread. That's a horrible, horrible secondary. And Carson Palmer, more on him in the quarterback podcast, I'm sure. But he's going to pick apart this defense. He's going to score points, which means Flacco's going to be behind. And against a bad secondary last week, he turned the ball over a couple times. Got to imagine that the Cardinals can take advantage of that this week.
Yeah, and the Cardinals have to be happy to return home. They traveled to the East Coast. They got beat by the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So they'll be back home. They'll be in a good environment, making the Ravens travel from the East to them in the Western time zone. So you're looking at a defense that has a good secondary that likes to jump routes and get after forcing turnovers, and they forced 13 this year. That's the 4th most turnovers forced on the season. And the thing that I really like the most about this group is really their offense, which, again, I mean, this is a defensive podcast, but when you've got an offense that's ranked 2nd in scoring in the league, you're going to have leads to work with. And if you get leads to work with, offenses get in predictable play calling situations where they're stuck dropping back and passing all the time. The front 7 get to pin their ears back and get after it, and you get these cornerbacks like Patrick Peterson who get a chance to jump routes and try to force turnovers. So really like this unit. There are no double-digit spreads as of today, and it's unlikely that any of those spreads are to get to double digits. I mean, the biggest spread is New England, and more on them in a bit, but 8.5 points there, 7.5 points here. There are not a lot of big favorites, so this is one of the few situations where you get a home big favorite, and one with a secondary that can really wreak havoc forcing turnovers.
Yeah, and then next up, the St. Louis Rams. And this is the exact type of defense that I like to target in cash games, because you mentioned here, they're 3rd in sacks in league. Any defense that gets a lot of sacks gives you a nice high floor. Even if they give up, 20, 24, 27 points, if you get 4 or 5 sacks there, maybe a couple turnovers, that's not going to kill you. But if you get a defense like, for instance, the Giants last or 2 weeks ago now, against the 49ers, It was a good matchup because the 49ers were struggling, but that's a team that doesn't sack the quarterback much, doesn't force many turnovers. They weren't terrible, but because they didn't have those peripheral numbers from their defense, they give you 1, 2, 3 points depending on what your scoring was. So the Rams, a team that can give up points and still pay off for you. So I really like to target them in cash games this week.
Yeah, I mean, when you play with these bend but don't break defenses, the ones that just try to keep teams, I guess you could say, in front of them, they don't wreak havoc on the quarterback. It really does put a lot of pressure on keeping teams out of the end zone. The Rams, as you noted, one of the best sack teams in the league. Their defensive line is just phenomenal. They've got so much talent to get after the opposing passer, and this is a Browns team that has struggled mightily to protect Josh McCown. They've allowed the third most sacks so far this season, 22 of them, and the Browns turning the ball over quite a bit too, with 11 turnovers, the fourth most turnovers in the league. So, I mean, that's setting the floor really high. Also raises the ceiling quite a bit. And on DraftKings, I'm looking at that $2,400 salary and just thinking about what I can do with the rest of my roster around that. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and all these Rams numbers that that are quite impressive. The turnover total solid. The sack number is great, and the points per game allowed is solid. These have come facing some really good offenses. They faced the second highest scoring offense in football, and they beat that team. They beat the Cardinals. They also faced the Packers this year, led by Aaron Rodgers, another top 5 scoring offense. And they have the Steelers on their resume as well. And the Steelers rank in the top 10 in points scored this year. They also caught the Steelers in the game when Roethlisberger was hurt. So they played Roethlisberger for the bulk of that game. So they faced some really good offenses and still posted really good defensive totals. So the Browns are not going to be confused for a top 10 offense. They don't have the running game to keep this pass rush honest, I don't believe. So a lot to like here. I really think they're going to post a big total this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. And that's just it's a great floor, high ceiling. Like you mentioned, that DraftKings price is just ridiculous. The Minnesota Vikings next against the Lions, and don't be the person who's a slave to the game logs and think that this is an elite Lions offense. It was a phenomenal matchup for them last week. They paid off. They had 4 technically touchdown passes for Matt Stafford, and in this matchup, this is a Vikings defense that's been playing really well. Like you mentioned here, 9 turnovers, 10 sacks on the season, allowing less than 17 points per game, and all that's including the fact that they just got gashed in the first week by San Francisco and Carlos Hyde and company. So I almost said Frank Gore. I was thinking about Frank Gore, but Carlos Hyde. But either way, this is a talented defense. You mentioned here they're not elite, but it's still Matt Stafford, and you can pick on Matt Stafford with an above-average talent defense. That's a way that I don't mind going, especially because we've seen Matt Stafford when he gets a little bit too confident. It's not pretty.
Yeah, and the thing that really stood out to me more than the Vikings work itself, which is good. I mean, they're not allowing a lot of points. They're not wreaking a ton of havoc. They're not forcing a ton of turnovers, but they're around average. They're average or better, pretty much across the board. But it's the Lions' shortcomings offensively. They ranked 26th in points scored this year at just 20 a game, and that includes their explosive outbursts this past week. But the eye-popping numbers, 18 turnovers so far this year. To put that in perspective, as I did in the article, that's more than twice the league average, more than double the league average. 8.7 turnovers for the season is the league average according to Pro Football Reference, and they've totaled 18 turnovers. That's unbelievable. I mean, it's a great situation, as you noted with Stafford. When he gets confident, he gets borderline cocky and arrogant, throwing the football around and showing off his arm strength. That's when you turn into turnover-prone Matt Stafford, and that's good for opposing defenses, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely seen him be pretty terrible at times with his turnovers. Next up, GPP plays. Kind of mentioned the Patriots a little bit earlier when we were talking, and they're facing the Jets. You mentioned it's a big spread, and we've seen some good games between these two teams, regardless of how good the Jets have actually been. But, this is an adequate Jets offense. They've got Chris Ivory. They've got Brandon Marshall. They have nothing else at all, really, at any position as far as skill players on offense. And Ryan Fitzpatrick has been the best Alex Smith that he can be and, manage the game. But this is still, a Patriots defense against a division rival. They've got big-time upside. They've got playmakers. So What's your take with the Patriots? Because I'm definitely throwing them in here in a few GPPs.
I mean, this is a perfect example of what you're looking for in terms of spread and a team being at home. They're the biggest favorites this week. They're home favorites, and I mean that's what we're looking for. I don't think the Patriots are an elite defense, but again, if an offense becomes predictable, it's a lot easier when you don't have to defend against the run and you know that Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be dropping back and throwing the football. And if you're an opposing defense, you give Ryan Fitzpatrick enough chances to throw the football, he's going to throw you a pass. So, I mean, he is turnover prone at times. He's not afraid of throwing interceptions. And if they get a big lead, which the Jets have allowed the fewest points scored per game so far this year, so they are a good defense, but this Patriots offense is rolling. I don't expect them to keep the Patriots in check. The league rules the way that they are now just make it almost impossible for an elite defense to keep an elite offense in check. So I think the Patriots are going to hang a big number. They're going to get a lead. They race out to a lead. All of a sudden you get to pin your ears back, and guys like Chandler Jones are going to be all over Ryan Fitzpatrick. One thing that I did feel that it was worth noting, and I think it's worth noting on the podcast as well, is the Jets have only allowed 2 sacks, so they're not exactly a giving offensive line in terms of giving up sacks, but they also haven't played from behind very often this year. Their defense has put them in good situations where they've been ahead, so we'll see how that offensive line stacks up when it's quite obvious that they have to air the ball out and try and play catch up.
Yeah, good point there. Next up, the flavor of the week, the Miami Dolphins. Under a new head coach, looked phenomenal this past week. The Texans do have some playmakers. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins might be the most consistent playmaker in all of football right now. Aaron Foster healthy. It's not so much a great matchup, but it's still not a great Texans offense. It's a team that does have pieces, but not one that you're expecting is going to go out, score 25, 30 points a game. And they're not necessarily turnover prone, but this is a Miami team that has so much talent, especially on that defensive line.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them really reach that potential yet. This past week, a great indication that they're going to be getting after the quarterback, putting pressure on him. And maybe they just need a change of scenery from Joe Philbin, because this seems like a different kind of team. And I will have a lot of Texans exposure, but I think with a lot of people having DeAndre Hopkins, Dolphins are going to go way under the radar once again.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a team that coming into the year, the expectations were grand for the defense. When you got guys like Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh, Brent Grimes, you've got talent at basically every level on the defense as well. You've got disruptive guys on the defensive line. You expected what you saw this past week throughout the entire season. I mean, they had 6 sacks in week 6. They had 1 sack entering that contest. So to say that they underachieved under Joe Philbin would be a gross understatement. They came out of the bye looking like a completely different team. Not only were they getting after the passer, but they also forced a pick 6. I mean, they just were fired up and ready to go. I think that they had the if this were not a talented team, I would write it off as some bye week magic, maybe just a little bit of extra motivation to show that it wasn't their fault that they limped out to such a bad start, that the coach is to blame. But this team does have talent, and this is really what was expected coming into the year. So I do think there's talent here. Most weeks, if we had the full assortment of defenses, I probably wouldn't be crazy about the Dolphins. But being that we are down a few defenses, I think that this is a strict upside play where you're looking for them to get back after the passer, maybe force a couple turnovers again. But I'm also going to side with Vegas on this one too. 43.5 point over-under total is fairly low. So it does seem like all indications are that the Dolphins shouldn't be getting drummed this week. So that's a good starting point if you're going to look for a GPP defense. And their price point is conducive to rostering big ticket items offensively and getting your point scoring there too.
Yeah, no doubt with that nice cheap price. And then here's a team that kind of piqued my interest a little bit when I was first looking at the salaries, and obviously did yours as well. The Steelers against the Chiefs, and this is not necessarily the Steelers are a great defense play as much as it is the Chiefs' offense just looks awful right now.
Yeah.
The Steelers do have 17 sacks on the season, and you know if Ben Roethlisberger's back this week, which he certainly could be, then this is a defense or a team that should be ahead and facing a defense or a team that just does not play well from behind without Jamal Charles. So could see a lot of opportunities for turnovers, tons of opportunities for sacks, because you combine the number of sacks that the Chiefs are allowing with the number of sacks the Steelers have, and this could be a bloodbath on the line.
Yeah, I mean, this to me, I added the caveat right off the bat. I like the Steelers' defense. I like them a lot less this week if Landry Jones is making his first career start. I think the fact that there's now film on him in a regular season game, life's not going to quite be as easy as it was, as he made it look anyway. And thank you, Martavis Bryant. This coming from Landry Jones himself. I can't say that he actually spoke to me directly, but I do feel pretty confident in saying that thank you is well warranted. But you get Big Ben out there with the weapons that this offense has. I think that you've got a good chance at getting the lead, as you noted, and pass rush like this against an offensive line that can't keep Alex Smith upright is a recipe for a big score. So I do like the Steelers, namely if Big Ben's under center. A little bit more leery of using them if it's Landry Jones, though, especially after the Chiefs did such a good job keeping Adrian Peterson in check. If they're able to keep Le'Veon Bell in check with really a run-heavy offense led by a backup quarterback, it does get a little bit dicier, and I do worry a little bit that maybe the defense is going to be stuck with some short fields to defend.
Yeah. Next one up, deep GPP play. You mentioned here, it's the Redskins against the Buccaneers. Pretty much just an average defense in every way. They get some turnovers, some sacks, nothing great. But the interesting thing in this one is we have seen the Buccaneers be very, very turnover prone, as you mentioned, over 2 turnovers a game. So this is going to be an interesting scenario where you want to swerve away from the grain, and it's not that the Buccaneers will be highly owned, but no one's going to look at the Washington defense because they're not a sexy pick. They don't have that one dominant player on defense that you expect is going to make that one big play. But it's still an offense that turns the ball over a lot. So you get a couple turnovers of this cheap salary, and they might pay off for you.
Yeah, I mean, Jameis Winston taking some lumps as a rookie, as you'd expect. Not every rookie quarterback's going to come in and light the world on fire. And, at 2 turnovers a game, Washington can certainly capitalize on that. They are favorites at home. They are cheap. And they've been average despite some serious injuries in that backfield. And, it took until game day for D'Angelo Hall and Chris Gulliver to be ruled out last week. So the return of either or both of those players would certainly help that defense significantly. To be down both of their starting corners for much of the season and to be putting up even average numbers is quite remarkable. So if they get either starting cornerback back, that will help them in their quest to shut down Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans and make life difficult for rookie Jameis Winston.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's going to be the end there for us. That's going to wrap things up, the defense analysis. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Got lots of great content at dailyfantasycafe.com as we once again get even one more day closer to NBA season. So get ready for that. I know I'm ready for it. And we'll see you guys next time.